Welcome to It's Complicated. I'm Orlando Bowen. These episodes are going to be authentic conversations that I invite you to join with me. I think as human beings, we're sometimes too concerned about sorting information and making things either black or white, really binary, and the reality is, it's complicated. On a human level, when we connect in the world and we interact face to face, we don't often take into account all the little things that make us perfectly imperfect. Sometimes it's uncomfortable to sit and reflect on this idea that we don't truly understand each other. Our fears, our doubts, our regrets, what makes us happy, what makes us anxious, what makes us proud. For the most part, we just assume that we understand each other, when in reality, we may be speaking to our projected avatars. The current state of the world, with us being under lockdown, has given us time to think, time to reflect, and time to have conversations about what's really important. And that's what it's all about, like really being willing to welcome those uncomfortable thoughts, being present, just sitting in it, right? And exposing society's cultural blind spots. No one person has the answer to solving all the problems that we're faced with. No one person could solve the problems that black people or other people of color face today. It's complicated, but we can do something, so we must do something to change those things. It's complicated. It's all about helping folks move to becoming anti-racist in their thoughts, their actions, and the spaces that they protect. And doing so in the spirit of Ubuntu. Ubuntu is a Swahili word that means I am because you are. So not only do I see the humanity in you, but I'm willing to do all I can to protect that humanity. It's my hope and prayer that as we go through these conversations, we think about that and then move to living that out. It's an uncomfortable time with COVID and losing Ahmaud and Regis and George Floyd. It's been a difficult year, and we can be better, though. We have to be better, but it's not going to be easy. I recognize I come from a line of wisdom, brilliance, and royalty, yet I'm challenged. I'm challenged by the state of affairs with respect to racism, specifically anti-black racism and anti-indigenous racism. It really hurts me to the core to see how we're treating each other. And even though I'm experiencing this pain and this discontent, I have to say that at the same time, I've never been so optimistic about what's possible as we go forward. There are some conversations being had today, right now, that I never thought would happen in my lifetime. Conversations about race and what it means to be black in North America. Conversations about how police serve in our communities. Conversations about young people and how they're seen in school and how they're prepared and positioned for excellence and success or not. Conversations about white privilege and white fragility that sometimes cause people to cringe. But conversations about how we want to move the needle forward, how we want to be treated, and what racism has done, not just for the here and now, but for generations. We have work to do. I would say I've rolled my sleeves up. Some may argue that they've disappeared, but the reality is that the sleeves are rolled up and we're ready to get after it. There's a quote by James Allen that I love that says, "Adversity reveals character, prosperity conceals it." So let's think about our current collective adversity that we're facing. What if we show up in a spirit of Ubuntu? What if we live and work through this adversity with the spirit and the understanding that I am because you are? And I'm not only willing to see that humanity, but what if we're collectively willing to stand uncomfortably to honor the humanity in each other? It won't be easy, I know, but it's necessary. So in each episode, I want to challenge you to think deeply, even when it's uncomfortable. As a matter of fact, especially when it's uncomfortable. Because that's when we have those moments, right? Those moments of time where we can have change. It's called growth. And I want us to be willing, just willing, to take active steps to doing our part to making those changes. I'll always leave you with a quote that moves me, something that moves me to be better, in the hopes that it may move you just a little bit. I'm going to start by asking you to do this. Think about the space and time that we're in. What if the uncertainty that we're feeling right now, what if the discomfort that we're feeling right now is what we need in order to be able to see life a little bit differently, in order to engage life from someone else's lens or perspective, in order to really come to terms that we are truly in this together? What if this experience that we're having right now, this feeling of pain, this feeling of uncertainty, this feeling of discomfort is what propels us forward so that we could gather, link arms, whether physically or conceptually, so that we could collectively move the needle, not just for this generation, but for generations to come. That's how I feel in terms of what's possible. But it's not really about what I feel. It's about what you feel and then what you're willing to do with those feelings. Are you willing to engage in uncomfortable conversations? Are you willing to reflect on your own personal journey and how you show up today, tomorrow, and henceforth? Because that's what it's all about, how we decide to show up. And I know it's going to be messy, but messy's okay because it's complicated.